How do you have a happy marriage? I know it's a deep question, but from your experience, what have you noticed works? You talked about brutal honesty.
Yeah. I think the two most important factors, and there's like not even a close third, is trust and respect. If trust goes, nothing else works, right? It's like, if I don't trust my wife, doesn't matter what she says, what she does, it's not gonna have any value to me, because I'm like, why is she doing that? Is she like fucking with me? Is she like playing me? Whatever. So without trust, nothing else functions. And then without respect, it becomes toxic. You start hurting each other instead of helping each other, right? Because if you don't respect the other person, you start trying to impose your own views and values onto them, and they try to convince you to take on their views and values. So you end up in this like power struggle that's really unhealthy. It can be very exciting and dramatic, and the sex can be good, but it's not healthy. So trust and respect have to be there before anything else. The other thing about trust and respect too is when you have those two things, you realize that it's not about not fighting. Like every couple fights. Some couples fight more than others. Some couples rarely fight. Some couples fight a lot. But as long as, like, if you have trust and respect, you are likely to fight productively. Like, that's what matters in a relationship. Every relationship has fights. Every relationship has disagreements. Can you fight productively? Can you end up in a better place after the fight than you were before it? If the answer is yes, then that's probably a good relationship. If it's no, it's going to be rough. Doesn't mean you can't get there, but it's going to be hard.
It's like fighting to win the argument versus fighting to achieve or land upon some shared objective or goal.
That's a huge part of it, right? Because when people are see the relationship as a power struggle, every fight becomes, I need to be right. Mm-hmm. You need to see it my way. And that's just, it's fucking toxic. It just deteriorates everything. So one of the most fundamental parts of that is saying, okay, whether I'm right or wrong matters less than the fact that we as a unit are better after this than before. And my marriage, like, we've both had multiple times where it's just like, fuck, I'm wrong. Like, I messed that up. I'm sorry. And so I think the ability to admit being wrong, ask for forgiveness, and then also the ability to forgive. Because, like, a lot of people are able to say, like, okay, I fucked up, I'm sorry. A lot of people are bad at letting it go. Mm-hmm. Like, you need to be able to let it go as well. It's like, okay, it's okay. We're going to be fine.
What is your biggest insecurity, and what are certain things you think you need to work on?
I'm hitting middle age, and I'm starting to have a lot of questions around, like, that realization, like, not even just thinking about my mortality, but like really a realization of, like, okay, you might be 50% of the way through your peak years. Are you using them well? Like, how are you using them? Are you using them well? And so I have noticed, like, I've had an urgency in the last year of, like, make sure you're working on things and doing things that are going to matter when you're 80, 90 years old. I think it's not enough to simply know what you want, which a lot of people struggle to know what they want. You need to also ask yourself why you want it, and be, like, uncomfortably honest with that question. Because a lot of the things that we do want are driven through insecurity, trauma. We got bullied when we were a kid, and we think if we have a Lamborghini, like, people will like us, whatever it is. So be very, very brutally honest with that question of, like, why do you want the thing? In terms of just, like, improving your life generally, I honestly think physical health is underrated. I know that sounds weird to say. I don't mean, like, fucking dieting and fads and getting a six-pack. I just mean sleeping well, not drinking alcohol, not eating garbage. Like, those three things right there, if you can do those three things, like exercise regularly, mm-hmm. even if it's going for a walk, like, if you can just do those things consistently for a few months, you will notice a massive improvement in energy and mood. And I think that just gets underrated. Like, it's not a sexy answer. It's not not a big life hack that everybody wants to hear.
Right. Because it's something that everyone could be doing at the current moment. It's not like, oh, get a Lamborghini. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know that you don't actually have to work a bunch at this given moment. It's like, oh, I'm delaying the burden to my future self.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, you know, like maybe I'll skip out on this cookie, or, you know, maybe I'll go to the gym, wake up at a certain hour. Like that stuff you could be doing right now.
Yeah.
So it's not very sexy.
Social relationships is another unsexy thing that has completely outsized benefits on happiness. It's, again, there are a bunch of studies around this. It's like, I think it was seeing a good friend once a week was the equivalent of like an extra $80K in income in terms of its effect on happiness levels.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
There's a bunch of shit like marriage
Wow.
marriage by itself is worth like, I think $200K a year in extra income in terms of happiness. Like, it's shocking how these simple things have outsized impacts and everybody continues to ignore them because they're so boring and quotidian.
So you're saying you could get, hypothetically, like 300 grand a year in happiness by seeing your friends, getting married, exercising on a regular basis, like very basic things.
It's so fucking boring, but yeah. It's probably good, and it's absolutely going to make you more happy than the Lambo. So
That's really interesting.